Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another FPC NFL Sunday. That's right, we are in week 3. It is Sunday. We have an entire day of games to talk, discuss, and preview, and of course, put all of our reputations on the line with our opinions here. And if you notice correctly, if you're looking at the screen right now, our three-man wolf pack is now a four-man wolf pack. As you can see, Mr. Ricky Keeler, host of Kicking It with Keeler, is joining Kyle, Braden, and myself today. Ricky, welcome to the show, and hello, everyone. How are we doing today?
Glad to be on this esteemed panel with you guys. Looking forward to talking some NFL football today.
It's a very generous comment of you, but I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah,
Braden,
we got a
Kyle,
lot of
how
big
we doing
games
today.
Oh, sorry. No, we got a lot of big games today, so just ready to preview these and see how it plays out on a busy day today.
Yeah, look, I mean, Braden, you and I talked about this on Thursday. I mean, we're sitting here already, and it's week 3. I mean, it was just a few weeks ago. We were counting down the days, like 6 more days until kickoff, 5 more days until kickoff. Now, all of a sudden, it's like, all right, who are the MVP candidates? I want to know now. I want to know what's happening. Strangely enough, people are already doing that. Myself included, are discussing who the early MVP candidates. This is, generally Russell Wilson's time to shine, but he is not in that conversation quite yet. Real quick, assuming a quarterback gets this award, I know I'm kind of putting you guys on the spot real quick. Who's your MVP front runner at this moment? Because I think there are a lot of options. I'll start with Braden, then I'll go to Kyle, then I'll go to Ricky.
I think I got to go with Tom Brady just because, I mean, I don't think he's really made any mistakes so far for the most part through 2 games. And with how stat driven it is now, you look at the touchdown passes after 2 weeks. That's a great start for him. So I think I got to go with Brady.
Kyle?
Just the trend of, last year was Rodgers, but before that, Mahomes, the young quarterbacks, and I think they might go back to the young quarterback pool. Kyler Murray, if he continues the pace he's on now, less good coaching than a lot of those other quarterbacks are getting. I think he deserves some serious consideration.
What do you think, Ricky?
Yeah, it's hard not to go Tom Brady. I mean, if you want to go different, maybe I'll throw a third name just for the fun of it. Matthew Stafford. I mean, the Rams can't run the football right now. Darrell Henderson's looks like he's not going to play today. And really, you're seeing the reemergence of Cooper Kupp into this offense and should make for a fun game today between Tampa and LA. But I got to go Brady. It reminds you of 2007 because the Bucs have a limited run game like the Patriots kind of did with Maroney, and Brady's just throwing it across the yard. So right now, it's hard not to go TB12.
Yeah, I'm going to make it 3 out of 4. Not because I'm biased or anything like that. You can, save that for your own judgment. I mean, look, it's early. It's early. So we're talking MVP in 2 weeks. I mean, like I said, last year we joked because, if the season ended after week 7 or week 8, Russell Wilson would have been a unanimous MVP. At the end of the day, he didn't get a single vote. So these things change. But I'm with Kyle and Ricky. He hasn't really made, like Braden said, and I think this is the key point because I've watched every snap so far of his. He hasn't made a mistake, and people can point to the 2 interceptions, and I'll just say go watch those 2 interceptions, and if you can come back to me with a straight face and tell me those should be a negative on him, then I don't know what I'll do. Because I don't believe that you will say that, but the point is he's been accurate, he's been consistent, steady across the board through 2 games. And, to Ricky's point, another guy that's in the mix, Matt Stafford, these 2 are going head to head today. So I think after week 3, maybe there's a little bit more gained by one of these 2 based on their performance and whether or not their team wins. So that should be pretty fun. And before we get into some of the other headlines, we all saw this morning, I think. And I just want to get you guys' opinion of it. A little bit of a bizarre story that could only come from Cowboys Nation. Let's just put it this way. Trying to bribe what would this person be? A NFL official to pass a drug test. Cowboys tackle Lyle Collins is apparently being suspended for that. I think it was 5 games. I think I saw. Maybe I didn't see it. I just know he's being suspended. I mean, how How often do you think this actually happens? Is this something that we've never thought of when it comes to the inner workings of the NFL and how the players work? I mean, we have great imaginations as when it comes to how teams operate, how the league operates, but do we really think players are out here trying to bribe NFL officials? And since this is the first time we've ever heard of it, do you think it's a pretty successful thing? Because I mean, I don't know. I feel like this can't be the only time someone's ever tried to bribe an official or an NFL official. Anyone? Well, Kyle seems to be talking, but I think his mic is off because he's saying a lot of things unless he's just moving.
I'm always talking. But I think it's funny. My first this never happens. Right? We've never heard about this, but you're right. If it's working, we wouldn't hear about it. You're right.
Yeah, exactly.
I just want to throw a completely new topic in. This has been a weird couple weeks for just like the drug policy stuff. I know in the CFL, a player, AC Lance rusher, and he got suspended 2 games and then a 3rd game because apparently he vulgar messages to and threatening messages to the whatever one of the drug enforcement for the CFL. So it's funny. You'd expect it in the Canadian Football League, it'd be nice vibe, and in the NFL, the yelling and the tirading. So weird week for it.
I'd say this, and to kind of tie into something else I wanted to bring up real quick, and something we can talk about later when we do our props to give one of them away, I guess, a little bit. Josh Gordon. I mean, look. I mean, if bribing to get out of drug tests was a thing, I'd figure that Josh Gordon would try at this point. But no, good for him. I mean, look, I like the kid. He was a Patriot for a little while, so maybe, again, there's a little bias. But, this is a kid who struggled, who I happen to be one of those guys that had him on my fantasy team in 2013 when he had that just monstrous run. And basically, that's why we're here today. So do you think, and real quick, we don't have to go into it too much. Do you think that this is Josh Gordon finally going to stick around, or are we just going to be going through this process again in 8 to 10 weeks?
I would say it depends on the situation because, I mean, we've seen him in New England and thought he would turn it around. It didn't happen. We've seen him in Seattle thinking, okay, Russell Wilson, he's going to turn it around, and then these issues keep popping up. I mean,
is there a better situation?
Exactly.
Not to interrupt you. Yeah.
The only other thing would be maybe pull Antonio Brown and go join Tom Brady in Tampa Bay. But other than that, I don't really know where the perfect veteran situation. Maybe New Orleans doesn't really have any wide receivers, but there's not really many perfect spots for him right now.
Yeah, I'm with you. I want him to do well, but like you said, he's been to New England, and as much as I knock Russell Wilson sometimes and talk about Seattle, they're one of the premier franchises in this league right now, and certainly one that would be capable of handling someone like Josh Gordon. Certainly the Patriots are, in my opinion. So, I mean, I don't know. A lot of this has to obviously do with Josh himself. I mean, he has to take accountability and responsibility for his actions. And again, act on him because, he can take responsibility, but if he's not acting moving forward, well, again, he's going to end up getting suspended, and we're going to do this in 2023. Josh Gordon finally gets reinstated yet again. So, I'll be interested to see where eventually he lands. I think he will land because, again, talent generally trumps most every issue that you have on or off the field in football. And he's certainly got myself and many others captivated by his potential, and that doesn't seem to be going away anytime soon, even with all the issues that he comes across. So, real quick, over on Thursday, Brady and I both correctly picked the Carolina Panthers to win the game. However, we should have seen this coming, Braden. I probably jinxed him by predicting that he was going to get almost 300 all-purpose yards. But Christian McCaffrey, the overused Christian McCaffrey, is injured. And this is something that, this is a problem that isn't going to go away with Christian McCaffrey. And this is the issue the underlying issue I think Braden and I were kind of dancing around, because we kind of assumed that Christian McCaffrey was going to be healthy, which, you know what you do when you assume, you know the saying.
Yeah.
Well, he's not healthy. Now all of a sudden, I know people are praising Sam Darnold's play, but I saw some old Sam Darnold on Thursday. Some, indecisiveness, some, opening himself up to potential turnovers. I mean, there was a couple of hits where he lost the ball. How big a trouble, I guess, is Carolina at 3-0, mind you, at 3-0? How big a trouble do you guys think they're in without Christian McCaffrey? Say he's gone for 3, 4, 5 weeks. And, again, it's a hamstring injury. And when he does come back, is anyone confident that he's going to be guaranteed to be out there the rest of the season? And I say no. So how big a trouble are they in? And I'll start with you, Braden. We'll just kind of round the hornet here.
Yeah, I think he's kind of the guy that gets everybody else going, and he's kind of the guy that, for a quarterback like Darnold is that security blanket. So, of course, he has the history with Robbie Anderson, and DJ Moore starting to get going. But I think this is going to be huge, especially for Sam, just because I think the early games that we've seen from him, he's made a lot of smart decisions. I think, like you said, the indecisiveness, that's kind of where I would worry for that offense and for Sam in general.
Well, we've lost Kyle there, so I guess we'll swing it over to Ricky, and we'll see what happens when Kyle gets back.
Yeah, I think the only worry for Carolina is the packed amount of teams in the NFC playoff race, because you've got potentially at least 3 in the NFC West. You never know what happens in this crazy NFC East, but I think what benefits Carolina, you look at their schedule, they do have Dallas next week and then Philly the week after, but Minnesota, the Giants, and the Falcons, and 3-game stretch, and we're going to get into those teams, but it's games they can survive. I think you tend to trust what Joe Brady can do offensively, maybe kind of limit Sam Darnold's weaknesses. And Chuba Hubbard's a decent player, a rookie at Oklahoma State, but the one thing you worry with him now is he was the workhorse back at Oklahoma State. So how many carries does he exactly have in that offense? So that's where maybe bringing in a Duke Johnson or using Royce Freeman a little bit. I think they're going to rely more on the passing game. And to your point, Ian, when you do that, Carolina's offensive line did not really show up in the second half. But if McCaffrey misses just 3-4 weeks and everybody's going to miss time in this crazy 17-game schedule, I wouldn't panic. But if it goes past a month, then you have reason to worry.
Kyle, welcome back. What are your thoughts? Same topic. You didn't miss much. We just skipped you. And we lost him again. So it's all right. Kyle, I think being up in the Great White North there is experiencing some technical issues. Look, I gotta figure again too. He's not going to be healthy this entire time. He comes back, he's going to be 75%. Oh, there we go, Kyle. I guess I'll throw it back to you, seeing as we finally got you connected and not frozen. Maybe I spoke a little bit too soon. Anyways, Kyle, chime in if okay, you're connected. Go ahead. What are your thoughts on Christian McCaffrey, and how big of a problem is it for the Carolina Panthers moving forward at 3-0? At 3-0. Kyle, you with us? No, Kyle? Okay. I'm just going to assume that Kyle is...
So in terms of I think as much as McCaffrey's important, it also does come into question.
Hold on. We'll figure it out. He's having some technical issues where I'm not his audio is kind of screwing up and it's not timed properly. So we'll let him figure that out. We'll bring him back in. Hang tight there, Kyle. We got you, buddy. I guess we'll move on a little bit because again I don't want to spend too much time on Carolina because we have an entire Sunday worth of games to get to, or at least talk about a few. But we're going to talk about some of these other undefeated and defeated teams. Braden, you and I went through these 2-0 teams the other day. Carolina among them. They are obviously now 3-0. So we're going to probably focus maybe a little bit more on some of these 0-2 teams. So what I'm going to do is we'll bring up the team. We'll talk about their record. How big a trouble do you think they're in? And do you think this is going to be it for them? For example, first 0-2 team on my list here, Jacksonville Jaguars. Are you buying or selling that they are a legit 0-2? So like we did yesterday or the other day, Braden, we started with a very easy example. Tampa Bay. Obviously, you're probably buying the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at 2-0.
Right.
However, Flip side, Jacksonville. Are you buying them at 0-2? Because I sure am. I think they're going to set the record for most consecutive losses. Maybe that might be a stretch because Tampa Bay's got that record too from a while back. But they're going to set quite a number of records with the amount of losing that they're going to do. So are you buying them at 0-2?
Yeah, I think overall it's just like it's kind of a week by week thing. I think of just seeing how this team's psyche is right now with Urban Meyer, all these rumors about USC and his future there, just a couple games in, and Trevor Lawrence. I think right now you're seeing just the timing issues of adjusting to the NFL. So I think until he can kind of get rolling and get going consistently, yeah, I think it's going to be a long season. So I'm going to buy them at 0-2.
What do you think, Ricky?
Yeah, you heard Urban Meyer tell Vic Fangio every game's like Alabama. Well, I don't know if Urban Meyer just keeps seeing Nick Saban in every head coach he faces, but in regards to expectations, I think we're finally seeing Trevor Lawrence have to deal with adversity. And that doesn't necessarily mean he can't turn it around, but at the same time, when you look at every game is not going to be easy for Trevor Lawrence. I think we're starting to see he's got the ability to turn around, but for right now, it's definitely underwhelming in terms of expectations for how good this offense was supposed to be.
Yeah, look, I mean, it seems to me like Trevor Lawrence is going to be a guy who's going to finish with maybe a 1-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio at the end of the year, maybe slightly more, a few more touchdowns than interceptions, but he's going to throw a lot. He's going to turn the ball over a lot. That's just Jacksonville seems to be willing to just work through that, or at least the philosophy is, well, he can throw a lot of yards, he can throw a lot of touchdowns, so we'll deal with the interceptions, and that's kind of how they've gone through these first couple of games. We'll see what happens. Trevor Lawrence, obviously, you see the talent there, but it seems a little too early to project any sort of positive thing out of Jacksonville right now. Detroit 0-2 right now. Now, I think my gut tells me, okay, it's the Lions. So, of course, yeah, I'm buying 0-2 right now. And I think my gut's right because it's the Lions. And guess what? They're 0-2 right now. It's too early to, make any sort of judgment on Dan Campbell or the future of this team 2 games in. I mean, we just don't know enough. And I think you have to give a little bit of time for some of these things to kind of develop. Look at Miami and Brian Flores. Obviously, their start was one of the worst. I mean, I think they got outscored almost 100 to like 10 in their first 2 games under Brian Flores. However, I don't see the talent in Detroit like I did in Miami, a few years ago when you saw some of those guys, develop and the ceiling on Tua, I think, was obviously much higher and all that stuff. Where do you guys see the Detroit Lions 0-2 right now? Do you think they can pull it back together, or is this just another season in which they don't win a Super Bowl like every other season?
Yeah, I think I'm going to buy them. I will say I like Campbell a lot as a head coach moving forward, and they're kind of embracing that rebuild. I think they're being honest with it. But, yeah, I think it's just defensively, I don't know if they're going to give up less than like 30 points a game most games. And I think Jared Goff right now, especially with this team not built to outscore 30 points every week. So, yeah, I don't want to do it, but I think I have to buy them at 0-2.
Ricky?
I'm going to buy them at 0-2 as well. Use the old cliche, compete level, but at least the compete level for Dan Campbell is there. We saw the Lions week 1 rally from 41-17 down to make it a game against the Niners. We saw them compete into the second half in Lambeau in a game nobody thought they had a chance to even compete in on Monday. So at least the Lions are fighting in these games. When they get more talent, they're going to be a lot better. But for right now, at least they're fighting for Dan Campbell and at least taking on his personality a little bit, which is a good sign.
Yeah, that's the one real positive that you can glean out of all of this, especially from week 1 where they almost battled back and won that game. Now again, it's football, so it's not like Friday Night Lights or anything like that where it's like you can go in and give this rousing speech and all of a sudden players play above their talent level. That can only get you so far, but it's a good start. However, again, right now I have to go based on the entire history of the NFL and say the Detroit Lions are probably a legit 0-2. So let's hope we don't go 0-3 with Kyle here. Kyle, have you fixed your internet? Are you back with us?
I muted. That wasn't the internet's fault. That was just human error there. But yeah, okay. It seems less choppy. I can hear you guys better, and it seems like you can hear me.
Perfect.
Perfect. most of the time when I'm speaking. Anyway, just on the Lions, I actually thought they would compete against the Packers, partially as a Packers fan, the depression of week one and seeing how awful they were, but also even when the Packers are playing really well, the Lions also tend to play them really close. So I wasn't entirely surprised or panicking when the Lions were winning at halftime. The Packers won 2 games against them in 2019 while leading for a combined 0 seconds of both those games. So, Lions and Packers close contests. And I think the Lions are building through the trenches, solid offensive line, the defense, the front seven, I think is the stronger aspect of that. So build through the trenches and then the rest will come later. So I think the foundation is solid there. I don't know about competing for division titles because they haven't really done that. The Bucks have won that division, the NFC Central, more recently than the Lions have. So
yeah, that's right. 2001.
But they can still compete for wild card playoff spots, I think, over the next decade.
Yeah, and look, I mean, that's the thing. It's like right now 0-2 looks bad, but again, there's some, like you said, there's foundational pieces being set. What you put on that foundation remains to be seen, and that could crumble and fall apart. But, for now, there's some, positives. Just right now, 0-2 seems pretty legit. Just like we have a 2-0 versus 2-0 battle between the Bucks and the Rams this weekend, we have a battle of the 0-2s with the Falcons taking on the Giants. Now, the Giants have been obviously far more competitive in their games. I mean, they lost by 1 point to Washington this past week, and in hindsight, they probably shouldn't have lost. I mean, depending on how you feel about that offside call or encroachment call, whatever it was officially named, the Giants probably should have won that game. So to call them a legit 0-2 is, it'd be tough. But which one of these two teams, I think the answer is obvious, has a far tougher road ahead of them. And I'll maybe speak for you guys and say it's easily the Atlanta Falcons. Braden, you and I talked about the Falcons the other day, I believe, and I don't know what they don't have a defense. Matt Ryan he's still pretty good, but he's clearly on the back nine, and I'm talking like hole 15, 16, 17 right now, getting through that par 3 at the end, and you got those last couple holes. That's where he's at right now. Okay. Kyle Pitts, nice, but again, what is this team doing? I don't know. They've obviously been far less competitive. I think they're very legit 0-2 and could lose double-digit games easily this season. The Giants, I don't know. So what do you guys' thought? Do you think the Giants and Falcons are kind of on the same level, or where do you see them?
I'm glad you mentioned Kyle Pitts because you mentioned Matt Ryan just, descending right now a little bit. I think that's this is going to be a draft year where Atlanta looks back and they should have taken a quarterback, got somebody developed a year or two in advance, and that's going to be really interesting to look back on. But yeah, I think the Falcons are below the Giants level-wise right now. The only thing that I'm just not sure on it with the Giants is Joe Judge. I mean, he's kind of this disciplinarian, serious guy, but the team loses in very undisciplined ways. So big year for Daniel Jones. He looks like he's off to a good start. I'm just not sure how much that'll hold up. So I guess if buying and selling, I'm buying the Falcons at 0-2. I just, it's a very depleted kind of defense that they got there right now. I don't know how much they can really stop people, and then the Giants, I'd sell them, but I'm kind of incomplete on them right now.
Kyle?
So I think, and I'm not a really big college guy, but from what I'm hearing from a lot of people saying so far this season, the quarterbacks that are likely to come out certainly next year, but also maybe one in particular in the next 2 years, a little disappointing. And maybe that we're going to look back at this 2021 class as this is the quarterback class that set up like the next generation. This and like the 2018 class with Allen Jackson. Like we'll look at those two classes specifically. And I mean, Herbert, obviously, if Burrow can raise the last year's class too, but the teams that missed out, I think may regret that. So Falcons, Broncos too. I think another team that may regret not taking a quarterback when they had the chance. And the Giants, as much as there was maybe talk of could they move on from Daniel Jones this year? If the quarterback competition really isn't that great, they might just prefer to stick with Daniel Jones through a second contract and then worry about it there. If they can get find another generational quarterback in the meantime, use Daniel Jones as a bridge. So I think at least having the quarterback set. I mean, you say Matt Ryan's still pretty great. I don't know if he's ever really been great.
I said
pretty good.
He has been great. I don't want to sit here and pretend like he hasn't.
The MVP
been
season,
he's been great. I mean,
but inconsistent though. Like it's never he never throughout his career never really put it together 2 years in a row. Like it was really great flashes, and I would maybe even only say one great flash. Like outside of 2016, I think mostly disappointing for a third overall pick at quarterback. So I think, on the downside anyway.
Without the Super Bowl win, and obviously the way he lost that game is not a good thing. So I guess in a way I do kind of agree, but I would push back a little bit and say that I think you're taking a little bit too much away from Matt Ryan's career, in my opinion.
That's
but
fair.
We're not here to talk about that. So sorry, go ahead.
Because you'll say, the team he lost to the Super Bowl is an amazing team and one of the greatest ever, and so it's who you lose to kind of matters too. But I'll give Matt Ryan a little more respect. You know how much I love to disrespect Drew Brees at the end, so I guess when he's gone, so now it all goes towards Matt Ryan.
Ricky, what do you think?
Yeah, we could talk about the Falcons' offense all we want, and while Matt Ryan is definitely the last stage of his career, their defense is awful. So I don't want to spend too much time looking at the Falcons. But looking at the Giants, I'm not blaming Joe Judge, even though they did struggle with penalties last week. I'm blaming Jason Garrett. You got to find some creativity with this offense. And the problem is their offensive line stinks. Saquon is not where he is right now. And to be fair to Saquon, there's no holes for him to run through. So the Giants offense could really use some more creativity. But to me, you're more concerned with their defense. I mean, Patrick Graham had this defense clicking on all cylinders toward the end of last season. You got Bradbury, you got Adoree Jackson, and they can't cover anybody. And I think that's a really big issue for this team, because if the Giants don't win today, their schedule is awful. Like they could realistically be 0-6, 0-7, and all of a sudden you're talking about Dave Gettleman's job, which really you should be talking about already. And Daniel Jones is going to be fine, but you can't ignore the elephant in the room. The Giants have 2 first-rounders next year. Maybe they kind of plan for something like this.
And, something Braden, sorry, I'm looking at the screen and I'm just blank. Braden and I were talking about the other day. I couldn't remember if I did this on FPC Radio or on our Thursday show, but, the Giants, by virtue of just being in the NFC East, get a little bit more slack here because, just based on what we've seen and certainly based on what we've seen early on this season, a close to 500, perhaps even below 500 team could potentially win this division as it has in years past. So falling to 0-3, it's certainly not ideal, but the Giants could overcome it. Now, again, fall to 0-4, 5, 0-6, then we can talk about it. But for now, I think if any division at least gives you a little bit extra slack, it's the NFC East. So two teams I want to bring up next, because I think the Jets and the Colts. Now, the Colts, the last I saw, it looks like Carson Wentz is going to play today. Now, again, much like Christian McCaffrey with a hell of a lot less talent and ability, in my opinion, you cannot count on Carson Wentz to be healthy this whole season. I'm shocked. I'm utterly shocked that he's even going to be out there today if that's the case. But for how long, I don't know. I mean, it's not comical. It's more ironic comedy, I guess, if that makes sense, where it's like you go there and say, oh, Carson Wentz got injured. Yeah, he hurt both of his ankles. Both. I mean, this kid is, unfortunately for him, he's just a piece of glass. I hate to say it, and I'm not wishing injury upon anyone, but you have to look at it. And I thought, first of all, I thought Indianapolis made a mistake a couple years ago by not pursuing Tom Brady versus Phillip Rivers, because they'd be in a lot better situation right now. Second, I thought it was a poor decision to hitch your wagon to Carson Wentz, because I just don't think the return is worth the risk, because right now, if at any given moment, the Colts could lose him for the season or lose him for a few weeks. And, I don't think they're good enough either with him or without him, certainly without him, to compete at any level in this league. So, I guess we'll focus on the Colts here. How worried are you about the Colts? Because they have a big matchup against the Titans, who they got stomped in week 1. They looked a little bit better in week 2. A divisional matchup. The Colts might see the best we've seen of the Titans so far this season. So how worried are you that the Colts at 0-2 right now are going to be staring at 0-3 and potentially worse moving forward?
Yeah, and I think it's an identity thing right now with the Colts too. I mean, we saw the running game really kind of get them into the playoffs the last few years when they've gotten there, and right now it's kind of just Jonathan Taylor seems to be kind of inconsistent, not getting going. So the defense is honestly what I'd be most worried about right now. I mean, I know the quarterback situation's a big thing, but this was one of the top defenses at all 3 levels the last few years, and they're just giving up a lot of explosive plays right now. So from the Wentz thing, I think it's not just the injury factor, but his psyche after everything that happened in Philadelphia last year, and like you said, having this wagon hitched to him, how's he going to respond? So I'd be very worried right now if I were a Colts fan.
I think one of the surprising things was, 2 years ago, 2019, that the offensive line, probably a top 5 unit. Last year, it was a disappointing season at the start for Jonathan Taylor, but also the offensive line. I mean, I know Quentin Nelson was a first-team All-Pro at left guard, but their overall team metrics for the offensive line were pretty bad. They were outside the top 20 in Football Outsiders adjusted line yards, something used to, independent of the running back success, how much is the line blocking for on average. And, this year right now they're 14th through 2 weeks, but that's still not the top 5 unit that we saw as, arguably the best offensive line in the league. They haven't really been that the last 2 years. So I'm concerned there because, like Braden was saying, identity, right? That to me was the identity of that team on offense. And if you've got, the most talented player on the roster is Jonathan Taylor. So if the line can get back to that top 5 unit, then you can, I don't think the Wentz injury hurts you as much as, like, say, the Quentin Nelson injury. I think that, because I don't think Wentz has been very good these last 2 years, so the drop-off from Wentz to Eason I don't think is that major. But if the line can't allow Jonathan Taylor to be the best he is, then I don't think this team really has a chance to in this division. And I mean, I guess there are a lot of bad teams in this division. It's almost like the NFC East, but if the Titans can figure things out, they should run away with this division, both literally and figuratively, with Derrick Henry.
And Tennessee's going to run all over them today. I mean, you look at Derrick Henry, last 3 games against the Colts, he's rushed for over 100 yards in all of those games. And he had his season rejuvenating his season last week in Seattle. To me, like Kyle said, the issue with the Colts is the offensive line. Braden Smith's banged up. Nelson's been banged up, and they really can't protect Wentz at all. They can't run the ball on the goal lines. Jonathan Taylor's still trying to run the ball from the 5 from last week and still can't get in. But the run defense is a problem. Carson ran on him in week 1. Henderson ran on him in week 2. It's hard to see him stopping Derrick Henry in week 3. The division is still semi up for grabs because I don't know how much you buy Tennessee. But the wild card, I mean, you're starting to see what those 2-0s in the AFC West, how good that division is, how good the AFC East looks to be, and all 4 teams in the North at 1-1. It's not looking likely that Indy could rally out of this division, even with 2 games of the Texans and 2 games of the Jaguars, to get near that 6-7 seed in the AFC.
Because the way the Texans have been playing, that's not even a guaranteed 2 wins anymore. Like we thought they'd be the doormat of the NFL, but like they're at least being competitive. So like I don't think the Colts just go in there and stomp through them either.
Yeah, I'm not counting on that to continue with Houston. Let's just put it that way. I'm not looking at them and saying, wow, they're changing. No, I think they're just off to a fortunate start. So we got about 17 minutes or so here. So we're going to kind of fly through our next 2 segments here. And that's going to be our play pickup props, which you're going to see start popping up here on the screen in just a moment. And then, of course, we're going to give our picks for the day. So those of you familiar with the show, of course, you're tuning in every week. I hope you are. We're going to throw up a prop, and each of us are going to discuss whether or not what we're going to pick. Is it going to be over? Is it going to be under? Is it going to be yes? Is it going to be no? Is it going to be a win? Or is it going to be a loss? We're going to tell you. So without further ado, we didn't get to spend too much time on this 0-2 team, but we're going to be able to talk about their quarterback. That's right, Zach Wilson. Okay, he had himself a rough go of things last week. Looked very, just out of his element. That's what he looked like. He looked out of his element, throwing 4 interceptions, with the latter 2 being very, very poor decisions. So that brings us to the 0-2 Jets taking on the Denver Broncos. And does Zach Wilson throw more or less, or over or under 1.5 touchdown passes. Once again, we'll keep the consistency. I'll start with Braden. We'll get down to Ricky, and then we'll go to Kyle here.
That says INT if I'm reading this right, not touchdown.
Yes, correct. What did I say? Touchdown?
Okay, sorry. I
might have misspoke. I meant to say interception. So
right.
Over under 1.5 interceptions.
Yeah, I'm gonna go over here. I mean, this is one of the best secondaries to me in the league, and Kareem Jackson seems like he reverses with age. It's a tough defense to go up against, and I think that video of, if you guys saw that, of the kid breaking down one of Wilson's interceptions, that was like one of the best things of the week. So, but yeah, I think we could see another video from him, and I think we'll hit the over here.
Yeah, I'll go the over. I mean, I don't think Zach Wilson will throw the ball as much as he did last week, because Michael Carter and the Jets actually ran the ball well against New England. And I'd like to see a veteran quarterback actually with Zach Wilson to help him in these kind of situations. So I'll say over, but it's going to be slightly 1.5. I don't think it'll be 4 this week.
So I'm thinking of like the Panthers, right? A young secondary. You got drafted the rookie corner, and you got the pass rush that helpful to creating turnovers. And Wilson only threw 1 interception against the Panthers. So yeah, it was 4 against the Patriots, but like that's also Bill Belichick. So I kind of think the Broncos defense may be closer to what the Panthers defense are. And I think Wilson, after such a poor game, will come back and at least more of an emphasis to protect the football. So I'll actually say under, thinking he throws 1, but I don't think he's going to throw 2.
All right. So moving away from some of the younger quarterbacks, let's talk big time quarterbacks here. Kyler Murray might be still part of that younger group, so maybe he doesn't necessarily fit into that description, but he is in the MVP race. Which star quarterback has the most total touchdowns this week? I'm going to start, and I'm actually going to say, and this might surprise you, I'm going to say Kyler Murray, because again, the potential for both, touchdowns, throwing, running, whatever is there with Kyler Murray. And I think, based on some of the matchups these other guys have, I think Kyler's in the best position. So I say Kyler Murray. What say you, Braden?
I'm actually going to go Russell Wilson. I think the Vikings defense right now, I mean, secondary-wise, one of the worst in the league. So give me a couple deep bombs today to Lockett or Metcalf. So I'm going to go Russ there.
I'm going to go different from both of you. I'm going to go Patrick Mahomes. To me, I think this will be a semi-high scoring game between the Chiefs and the Chargers. And until Kansas City actually can run the ball, Patrick Mahomes is going to get all the touchdowns that the Chiefs have. So if this game is 28-24, Mahomes has 4 touchdowns, I could easily see that happening. So give me a Patrick Mahomes, aka as I call him on my show, Patty Sideboard.
I think these are like the 3 highest games, like in terms of the total: the Chiefs, Chargers, the Seahawks, Vikings, and then the Rams, Bucks. So there's going to be tons of touchdowns. To me, I'm going to actually be completely different and say Tom Brady. The argument there is it's similar to what Keeler just said for Mahomes. I think it applies to both. Both teams' run games are so bad that the touchdowns and I think the run defenses for the Chargers, especially the Rams, are so good that all the touchdowns are going to come through the air. So if we expect the Bucks Rams to be a shootout, I could see Brady throwing another 4 touchdowns.
I gave you a little sneak peek of the next one by accidentally rolling my mouse over it, but here we go. Keenan Allen versus Tyreek Hill. One of my games I'm looking forward to the most outside of like the Patriots and Bucks games, of course. Who has more receiving yards in Week 3, Keenan Allen or Tyreek Hill? I'll start with you, Braden.
I'm going to go Keenan Allen. I mean, I think this Chargers defense is going to do a little bit of what Baltimore did last week and double Hill as much as they can. I don't really have a lot of faith outside of Matthew right now in the secondary, especially deep down the field where Allen can win. So give me Keenan here.
I agree with Braden. I'm going to go Keenan Allen just because the Chargers are going to have to convert passes on 3rd down. We saw it in week 1 against Washington when they had success. Herbert was hitting Allen, even Mike Williams in those situations. They need that same success today. Since Travis Kelce's on the Chiefs, he's going to steal those receptions. So give me Keenan Allen.
If this prop was receptions, I think I'd agree with you guys and say Keenan Allen, but I'll disagree once again and say Tyreek Hill because of the yards. If this turns into a matchup where Hill gets, week 1 he had 15 targets. If he gets close to double-digit catches, he can easily approach 200 yards. Where Keenan Allen to get to 190 yards, he'd need 20 receptions, right? So I think on the more efficiency, I'll say Hill.
All right, so going to that 2-0 matchup between the Rams and the Bucks. Cooper Kupp coming off a huge game last week, obviously. Who has more yards against the Bucks, who have some issues in the secondary right now, so they're not certainly this all-world 1985 Bears defense that people have been talking about over the summer. They have some issues. Who has more yards in this game, Robert Woods or Cooper Kupp? Braden?
I'm strictly going off one of my fantasy matchups. I have Woods. One of my opponents has Kupp, so I'm just going to hope that Woods does and go with him. I think,
Speak it into
honestly,
existence.
honestly, with how good Kupp has done, I mean, Tampa Bay might be willing to shade him a little more and double him more, honestly. So I'm hoping for it, but yeah, I'll go with Woods.
I'm going to go Cooper Kupp here. I can see Sean McVay get creative with Robert Woods, but maybe more jet sweeps and something like that. Just try to throw Tampa off a little bit, and you just can't ignore the connection Stafford has with Kupp right now. So until further notice, Cooper Kupp gets the nod here.
Yeah, maybe Woods approaches like the total yards number, but I think just based on how Cooper Kupp's been producing, I think it seems like he's the alpha there. And we saw that a bit with Goff, but that was more of a red zone alpha. But like this is Stafford's just using Kupp everywhere, so I'll say Cooper Kupp. And quick fantasy question: I got Robert Woods or Juju Smith-Schuster in a league. Like that's kind of where the level I'm debating Robert Woods at, just with the injury to Deontay Johnson. So that'll be maybe I'll expand that on the fantasy show and like my process behind making that decision.
I like that. Nice plug coming up at 11:30 as soon as we shortly after we get off the air here. Next, Justin Fields making his first career start for the almost said Buffalo Bears, the Chicago Bears against the Cleveland Browns. Over under 1.5 passing touchdowns for Justin Fields in his debut.
I'll go under here. I think Nagy's going to kind of play it safe and try to use Montgomery as much as he can. And I just don't know how much success we'll have against the secondary. So I'll go under with Fields.
I'll agree with Braden. I go under. I mean, whenever Fields feels pressure from the Browns defensive line, he's going to run the football. I mean, we saw a lot of praise for his almost touchdown Allen Robinson and the almost deep completion of Darnell Mooney last week. He's going to have to complete some passes this week. Browns defense has struggled. They'll be at least better this week, so I'll go under.
It's funny. It's the Mitch Trubisky connection, right? Chicago and Buffalo, which I guess is an improvement, right? Because last year those almost touchdowns to Mooney, they were not even close shots to Mooney when he was wide open. So at least Fields is hitting the vicinity. If this was total touchdowns, I would smash this over. I think the Browns have allowed a rushing touchdown each of the last 2 weeks. Fields, as much as Tyrod Taylor's great, like in terms of just talent and speed, Fields I think is definitely going to score a touchdown on the ground, but maybe only pass for one. So I'll also say under on the passing touchdown specifically.
All right, and some of you already saw this once already. I kind of again, it's a touchy system over here, trying to figure it all out. So, we lost Braden, and Braden's back. So, big matchup of the week: 49ers, Packers. Rodgers obviously bounced back yesterday or last week after that week one kind of debacle. Over under 300 yards against the stout 49ers defense.
I'll go over here. I think I don't have a lot of trust right now in the 49ers defense, so it's Salah out of town. So keep it simple, go over.
Over, but not as simple as Braden has it, considering the Packers, we saw Adam Schefter tweet this morning, might have to start a third string at left tackle. And if that's the case, this Niners defensive line is going to get to him. San Francisco's a house of horror for Rodgers. I think he gets there, but it's not as easy as people think.
Yeah, I'm going to actually say under. Thinking back to the you say debacles, like, this 49ers team seems closer to the 2019 version than the 2020. And I look back to that regular season game in 2019. He had 104 passing yards against them. So I'm going to say under, thinking that, again, no Elton Jenkins, who I would argue has been the Packers' best player overall through 2 weeks. Billy Turner at left tackle versus Nick Bosa. I don't like that at all. This spells complete disaster. I don't know, giving away my pick already, but as a Packers fan, I'm not really confident today at all. So under.
All right. Last one, going to, like I said, perhaps a game that we could see two teams approach 40 points. I think this is a pretty easy over for total yards in this game, Chiefs and Chargers. But what do you think, Braden? You're the obviously the resident Chief expert, and of course, certainly one who pays attention to this division quite a bit. Are you taking over the 750 or under?
Yeah, I'm taking the over until the Chiefs defense stop spending a little more. I think you got to take the over no matter who they're playing. But yeah, it helps a little more when Herbert's on the other side. So give me the over.
I'll go over, but it mainly relies on Austin Eckler. He's going to have to be the guy that kind of keeps the clock moving, get those yards on the screen pass, maybe a couple of chunk plays. Otherwise, I think it's closer to the under because both the Chiefs have having trouble running the football. So Mahomes is throwing for 500 yards. Kind of takes the knot off this a little bit, but I'll still go slightly over.
It's going to be the Chargers have been kind of not so efficient in the red zone. The Chiefs just allowing everything in the red zone to be a touchdown defensively. So it's going to be but I think either way, I'll say over just because the Chargers will probably get into the red zone often. It's can they capitalize once they're there is going to be the real question if they have a chance in this game.
Either way, I get the feeling we're going to see a lot of movement of the football in this game. It's just the feeling I get. And plus, again, you talk about the premier young quarterbacks in this league. You got to include both, obviously, Mahomes and then, of course, Justin Herbert. So we are so tight for time right now. I'm looking at the clock right here over to my right. So the last thing we're going to do here today, folks, is going to make our pick. So everyone out there, I'm talking to you three, we're just going to run through these very quick, very simple. Let's keep it nice and tight, and we're going to obviously try to be perfect. I was nearly perfect last week. I missed all but 3 games, so I'm trying. I got a lot of pressure on me to succeed once again, and this is what I'm going to try to do. So, got it up there just for folks to reference if they want to reference it. But we're going to go through, and we're going to start with. Hold on, I got to find my actual sheet with my picks so I don't contradict myself and get called out for it. Well, apparently I can't find it, so I'm going to throw it to you guys first. Right off the bat, we have Washington at Buffalo, 1 o'clock. Obviously, the Buffalo Bills being, a team that many expect to be an AFC East competitor. Do you have them winning at home against Washington? And once again, we'll keep the same rotation. I'll start with Braden, go to Ricky, and then to Kyle. Braden, what do you think?
Yeah, I think Buffalo wins here. They looked back to where they were, last season, and Washington's defense is kind of starting slow. So, yeah, I think Bills honestly win pretty comfortably here.
It's odd that Buffalo looks more balanced than the Washington football team that was supposed to have balance with Antonio Gibson, but Devin Singletary broke out a little bit last week. Expect the same today. I think the Bills win.
Kyle? Oh, we missed Kyle. We lost Kyle. It's all right. We'll get back to him when he connects again. I got Buffalo in this one as well. I still have concerns about Josh Allen, but, a win's a win's a win. So good for him. Next, we have Chicago at Cleveland. We already talked about that. Justin Fields making his NFL starting debut. But I got Cleveland winning this one at home. I think they just have a better matchup. What do you think, Braden?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're totally correct. Better coach, better roster. Too much for Fields to overcome, so I got the Browns here.
Sounds like Odell Beckham is going to play today. If that's the case, I'm interested to see how he looks with Baker Mayfield. We heard Baker's better without him. Well, it's time to find out. But still, I think Cleveland wins.
All right, next we have the Baltimore Ravens heading to Detroit. We already talked about this game a little bit. I like, obviously, Baltimore in this game. I just think, obviously, they're a better team right now. So give me Baltimore on the road against Detroit.
Yeah, not much to it for me. We talked earlier about the Lions defense. I mean, Lamar could have close to 200 rushing yards, so that'll be fun to see if he can do that. I got the Ravens.
Yeah, every week on Kicking It with Keel, we have the Flip the Channel Game of the Week, a game you would not watch unless it's on Red Zone. And if this is that game, so the Ravens would win.
Yeah, clean sweep. Ravens beat the Lions.
So, of course, naturally, the Lions are going to win this week, and we'll revisit this conversation next week. Next, we have the Colts at the Titans. Again, a battle of the AFC South. We, again, discussed this game to some length, especially about the quarterbacks. Tennessee is slowly getting closer to what we expect them to be, and I expect them to win this game fairly easily with or without Carson Wentz. So, on the Colts side.
Yeah, I think I was really impressed with how they finished last week after their slow start, and I think, like you said, they're going to carry that into this week, and the quarterback situation for the Colts makes it that much easier, so Titans win here.
I'd honestly, for the Colts with that bad offensive line, rather see Brett Hundley than Jacob Eason in this game just to get some form of yards. But Derrick Henry, we said earlier, he runs 100 yards as a given against the Colts. It should happen today, so the Titans should win.
I don't know. As a Packers fan who lived through Brett Hundley, I'm not sure I agree with that one, but I agree with that. The Titans will win this.
All right, next we have, again, one of the most anticipated games of the weekend. We have the Chargers at Kansas City, AFC West battle. I think it's going to be high scoring. I think it's going to be close, but I think Kansas City is going to eke this one out against a very tough and up-and-coming Chargers team. So give me Kansas City at home in this one.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a pride game. I mean, I don't think the defense is going to be back to obviously, a tremendous level, but I think they'll be a little better. I will say I don't know if the Chiefs will cover. I'm not super confident right now with the higher spread, but home game, I'll go the Chiefs in this one.
You kind of apply Patriot logic to the Chiefs. You can't see them losing 2 in a row. You can't see them losing at home. And if you look at the Chargers, I know they finished week 1. They didn't really finish in week 2. So you can't say LA's exactly knows how to finish games. When you're in Arrowhead, you have to do that. So the Chiefs should win a close game here.
It's a good point, Keeler, because I think, the Chargers fans are just going to be disappointed with another close loss. I agree with Braden that I don't think the Chiefs will cover. This almost reminds me that like the lack of defense on both sides, really, because I think that the Chargers defense maybe not performing up to their expectations. I mean, they did pretty well last week, but this could be that Rams Chiefs Monday night game, both teams over 50 points. Like we could see that here.
Oh, easily. And if I'm not mistaken, and please correct me if I'm wrong, I saw that Bosa may or may not play in this game, which would obviously be a big factor in this because, again, you take away their best defensive player and then, it's Kansas City. So they're going to score some points. So next we have New Orleans, the Jameis Winston-led New Orleans Saints heading to Mac Jonesville up in New England. I like New England in this one. Again, I mean, I'm certainly not as confident every week as I was with Tom Brady under center, but you can see a kid in Mac Jones who likes to protect the ball, and I think the Patriots have some talent both defensively and offensively. So give me New England in what I think is going to be a pretty good game, because don't discount Sean Payton and the matchup with Bill Belichick. So give me New England in this one and a pretty close win at home.
Yeah, this was the toughest game for me to pick this week, and I'm kind of just applying like odd and even week logic here to the Saints. I think it's an odd week, so they're actually going to do good. Jameis is going to do good. It's an odd week, but yeah, it'll bounce back from last week, and I think Saints will honestly create some turnovers today. So give me the Saints in a tight one.
Well, I'd be concerned about the Patriots' run defense against Alvin Kamara because Patriots' run D has been terrible considering what they've added over the offseason. And with maybe Trent Brown, if he does play, he's not going to be healthy. Cam Jordan getting that backfield. You still have to think Bill Belichick has something planned for Jameis Winston to disguise some things, get him to make that key mistake. And I think the Patriots will correct their issues in the red zone. I think they win, but on a Nick Folk field goal to get to 2-1.
If Michael Thomas was playing, I might say the Saints, thinking that like Belichick can't take away both Kamara and Thomas. But with Kamara being the main weapon, if they can figure out how to take away Kamara, I don't know what the Saints have on offense to I don't even know if keep up's the right word, but because I will say right now, Mac Jones is the more mature quarterback of the two, even though he's a rookie, and Jameis Winston's a 6-year pro. But that says more about Jameis than anything. I'm going to trust the better quarterback in my mind and the better coach and say the Patriots win.
Yeah, it's tough not to watch last week and see the turnovers created by the Patriots and not think that Jameis Winston's going to help in creating some of those again this week.
And I will say he looked great against the Swiss cheese Packers defense, but let's see what happens when they play a real defense.
Yeah, exactly. So next we have we've talked about this game a little bit. So real quick, Atlanta at New York. I think the Giants win this one and get out of that 0-2 winless category, and Atlanta goes to 0-3. So give me the Giants in this one at home.
Yeah, pretty simple for me. I don't know if the Falcons can stop Daniel Jones right now, so give me the Giants in this one.
Giants are the more desperate team. Falcons are in rebuild, so Giants kind of have to win this. Give me New York.
I'll go with the better quarterback and say the Giants.
Yeah. Hey, clean sweep. Give us the Giants. So next we have the Bengals going to Pittsburgh in a very tough game, in my opinion, to pick. I went with the upset, if you want to consider an upset. Cincinnati on the road taking on Pittsburgh. Give me the Bengals.
Yeah, I don't know how confident. I kind of said this last week with Pittsburgh. I'll take them again, but I think I'm kind of just relying on that defense right now a little bit to create more interceptions off of Burrow. So give me the Steelers, especially at home. I think that's a big difference for Pittsburgh against a team like this right now.
I'm actually going to agree with Ian. I'm going the Bengals. This is my bold pick of the week just because I think you look at the Steelers, their defense is banged up. No TJ Watt again. We don't know how healthy Roethlisberger is. They can't run the football. And what did you see last week? Derek Carr throwing the ball deep to Henry Ruggs. Joe Burrow's got Jamar Chase. I know exactly. It's tough to see Pittsburgh start 0-2 at home, but this isn't your father's Steelers. So I think they lose 2 in a row and then have to go to Lambeau. Not good for Pittsburgh. Bengals win.
Yeah, I think the thing with the Steelers, with Watt out, I believe they'll be missing their best defensive player at each level between Watt, Bush, and Hayden. I mean, unless there's a better, I guess Minka Fitzpatrick's technically their best defensive back. I'm a little mistaken there. But okay, actually with Fitzpatrick there, I think they'll get the win. I just think the coaching, right? I think Tomlin's still a class above Zach Taylor, and maybe a little bit of what Braden was saying with the Patriots logic. I don't think the Steelers are losing 2 home games in a row, so I'll take the Steelers.
Yeah, and to answer your observation or to comment on your observation, no, Ben Roethlisberger is not healthy, and I can say that with full confidence without knowing his actual medical file. I just look at him and see a guy that clearly does not look healthy to me, or at least looks very much every bit of his 38 or 39 years old. So next we have Jacksonville hosting Arizona. Again, I think this might be another clean sweep for us. I'm taking Arizona on the road against Jacksonville. Pretty straightforward. So.
Yeah, Kyler Murray show going to be all over the place today. So give me the Cardinals.
I think Arizona wins. Don't be surprised if Jacksonville hangs around. I say that because DeAndre Hopkins is banged up. So if he's even just a decoy, I mean, what does Rondale Moore do with more coverage? What does Kirk do with more coverage? Can they run the ball? I'm still concerned Arizona, really, when they're expected to do well, they don't play at their best as opposed to when they're the underdog. So I think Jacksonville at least can keep it close, but I think Arizona does win.
West Coast team with a 1 p.m. Eastern start, right? That's usually a recipe for disaster, but I think this Jags team is so bad that that's not going to be enough of a difference, and the Cardinals will win.
Next, we have Denver hosting the New York Jets. I don't think any of us think there's going to be 4 interceptions out of Zach Wilson today, but I think we all might agree that a victory might elude it. You know what? Look, I don't want to put words in your guys' mouth. I'm taking Denver in this one. I like their defense. Teddy Bridgewater's playing some pretty good football right now, and again, I think Zach Wilson's got some maturing to do before he's an effective NFL quarterback, and it's the Jets. So give me the Broncos.
Yeah, I will say I'm impressed with Teddy so far, but this is also with the run game and the defense, a tough test for a young rebuilding team, and in that altitude, it's always tougher for a younger team as well. So give me the Broncos at home.
Yeah, Denver's defense solely wins in this game. They'll have some success. Jets defense very quietly has been okay in the first 2 games, but I think Denver gets a low-scoring victory.
Let's give Teddy Bridgewater some credit. He's looked good so far through 2 games. He's done exactly what they needed to win. He hasn't looked all-world outstanding, but I think he does enough for them to go to 3-0. So, Broncos.
Perfect. I forgot my cue was to speak after you, so I kind of dropped the ball a little bit there. But next we have the Raiders hosting the Miami Dolphins. Miami coming off just a not devastating, but pretty brutal loss to the Buffalo Bills without Tua. I got the Raiders in this one. I'm still hesitant to call the Raiders a real contender, but I think they're certainly going to be good enough to beat a Miami team. Kind of, conversely, East Coast team going to play a game out west could pose some issues for the Dolphins, but I like Vegas. I like what they're doing on offense right now, and I think they're just good enough on defense to keep them in check. So give me the Raiders.
Yeah, I mean the Dolphins' offensive line, it's in shambles right now. They can't block anybody. I don't necessarily love Brissett, his style with this kind of offense, so I don't really think they're going to score much points again today. I think Raiders honestly win pretty comfortably at home.
Yeah, Ian, you and I both know Brissett's limitations as a quarterback. They have to get the ball downfield, and even though Will Fuller's back, I don't think they're able to. And Derek Carr, considering the Raiders can't run the ball, is having some really good success the first 2 games. I don't think they need to run the ball today. I think Carr is a field day. Raiders win.
I mean, this might be the best Derek Carr has ever played. Like I think he's looking really solid, and playing early on the East Coast didn't stop the Raiders last week. So I think they also go 3-0 like the Broncos, and I'll pick the Raiders.
Next, one of these two teams are going to be 3-0 at the end of this matchup,
unless it's a tie.
Yeah, unless it's a tie. But thanks, Kyle, for ruining my moment there. But anyways, we have Tampa Bay heading out west to take on the Los Angeles Rams, and a lot of people are touting as a potential championship game preview. It's early, so it's kind of tough to really make those projections right this moment. But I see a Tampa Bay team that, despite some of their issues on defense and despite not being having Antonio Brown today, there's one rule that I always kind of live by, and that is just never bet against Tom Brady. I don't care how good the defense is. I don't care if you bring the number one defense. I think Tom Brady has the edge because I think offense wins championships, conversely, as opposed to defense. So in this game, I think it's going to be a fairly high scoring game because again, the Bucs defense isn't that strong, but I also think that it's going to be more about, can the Rams keep up with the Bucs offense as opposed to the other way around, and I don't think they do. So give me Tampa Bay on the road to move to 3-0. And Tom Brady throws another 4 touchdown passes. So get that MVP talk going. What do you think, Braden? Oh, did we lose Braden? All right, Ricky, how about you go, and then we'll have Braden hop in when he's ready.
We know Tom Brady doesn't seem to be human because he likes his avocado ice cream, his TB12 method, but it's kind of odd that this week Tom Brady Sr. and Alex Guerrero are both making comments on next week's game, not this week. So you have to think Brady's let them say that. So there has to be something in Tom Brady's mind looking forward to next week. And that's always dangerous. We look ahead, but even Tom Brady can look ahead too. And this Ram defense can get him off the spot. I actually like LA in this game.
It's the type of defensive formula you need, right? They can pressure without blitzing. That's instrumental. If you don't have that, you have no chance against Brady. So they've got that. Stafford has been clutch, but I think I'm going to keep with Brady. I think the one thing that motivates him, people have been saying, the records. I actually don't think he cares about the records. I think he wants to go 17-0. I think that's the legit mission this year, and maybe that's too much pressure on them, and maybe I'm already putting it out there too much, but I legit think that's what they're going for. I think that's if he manages to do that, then he can say he's accomplished literally everything and probably walk off at the end of the year. But I think he's holding on for that.
Nah, he's playing until he's 50. It doesn't even matter if he goes 20-0. He'll sit there and be like, "Nah, I still want to play." Braden, are you with us?
Yeah,
we lost you there for a second. All right, so who do you have in this game, Tampa or LA?
Yeah, and I think not just how Brady's playing right now, but watching back the Rams game from last week, they did have some inefficiencies, a couple 3-and-outs that really kind of got them in a hole. So if it wasn't for Wentz getting hurt, they might have lost last week. I think just the offense is a level above the Rams as much as I like Stafford in that group. So give me the Bucs on the road.
All right, last 4:00 game of the slate. We have Seattle at Minnesota. Seattle's just a better team, and this is September, so it's Russell Wilson's time to shine. So give me Seattle in this one on the road.
Yeah, I don't trust either team, but I trust Minnesota a lot less. So, and plus it's Russell Wilson, like you said, in September. So Seahawks win here.
Thought about taking Minnesota here because you look at their 0-2. They lost in the last play in overtime to the Bengals, lost on a missed field goal against the Cardinals, but Dalvin Cook's not healthy, and Russell Wilson is 7-0 against the Vikings in his career. Make it 8-0. Seattle wins.
Yeah, I think this is the highest scoring over-under combined, at least last time I checked. And to me, that favors Seattle in that kind of game script, not Minnesota. Although, Minnesota's offense is pretty good. I think to me, I don't, like Braden said, I don't trust either defense, I would say. I trust both offenses, but I trust the Seahawks just a little more. So I'll take Seattle.
All right. And last but not least, the Sunday night football matchup, Green Bay at San Francisco. Again, this is a game we've spent a good amount of time on today. I'm going with San Francisco, and for a lot of the reasons that Kyle had outlined. It just, to me, I don't see a difference between this matchup and the 2019 matchups between the two teams. In which case, San Francisco is just a bad matchup for the Packers, and I don't think it plays out any differently this week. So give me the 49ers at home again in Sunday Night Football.
Sunday night last week, we saw a team kind of beat their kryptonite. I actually think that happens again this week. I'm not really convinced right now with San Francisco, and I think this is just going to be a game Aaron Rodgers is going to put everybody on his back and push him past the finish line in a tight one. So I'm actually going Green Bay in a little bit of an upset here.
If the Niners follow the NFC Championship game script from a couple of years back, and it doesn't matter if the four of us are taking carries for the 49ers, because I think it's going to eventually get to that point. Jimmy Garoppolo can only throw the ball about 20 times, and I just think the Niners' defensive line is just too good, and the Packers' offensive line is too much a train wreck. San Francisco's a house of horrors for Aaron Rodgers, which is odd because he's from California. But give me the Niners to beat Green Bay.
And there you have it, folks. Unfortunately, we lost Kyle at the last second, but he's going to actually be on here live for our Full Press Fantasy show. So perhaps he can elaborate on what his pick was going to be for the Packers San Francisco game. But thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Thank you for hanging with us as we dealt with some technical issues, but we're happy to do the show. So enjoy Sunday. Give us a follow on Twitter at Full Press NFL, and be sure to join us this Thursday once again for previewing Thursday Night Football, and of course, every Sunday morning, talking NFL football, giving our picks, giving our predictions, and having a lot of fun. So everyone, have a great day. Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy your Sunday. Be safe. Be happy. We'll talk to you